AM and FM.
WOON Woonsocket.
This ON AM and FM forecast brought to you by Boscheman Lumber, 334 Social Street, Woonsocket, 762-1657.
More clouds than sun today with a high of 80 degrees and a calm wind. Tonight, cloudy skies, overnight low of 64. Sunday's weather, cloudy in the morning, gradual clearing with a high of 80. Monday, a rainy day with highs around 77 degrees. Tuesday, partial sunshine, 69. Wednesday, mostly sunny, high of 71. Thursday, mostly sunny, 76. And on Friday, mostly sunny skies and a high of 78 degrees.
And currently outside the Navigant Credit Union broadcast studio at the corner of Park Avenue and Kennedy Street, we have 71.4 cloudy, hazy degrees. Welcome to Kevin's Sports Show. I'm Kevin Callahan along with Pat Holland joining me in studio. We didn't have Peaches and Herb queued up, Pat, but welcome back to studio from your worldwide traveling tour of Indianapolis last week. Welcome back.
Yeah, we're back.
We're back.
Good to be back.
Yeah, how was Indianapolis?
It was good.
Yeah.
Good time. Little business, little pleasure, little radio. But yeah,
all right.
Good to be back.
Well, yeah, glad to have you back. I love with this in studio. Really quick, I'd like to give a quick shout out to Upper Deck Post 14 making it to the finals in New Hampshire last week. American Legion losing to Hudson Mass 15-9, and really quick off of that, Pat, you guys just got to figure running out of pitching. They were coming out of the losers bracket with pitch counts. You know, I've been in the softball mode lately where you can run a softball pitcher for 7 games in a row.
Right.
You're up against a pitch count, and not seeing the game, just assuming just running out of pitching. You know, a little bit late there at 15-9.
That's what it looks like, and I think that Hudson team went undefeated through that regional, so maybe the better of the group. So, but hey, great season for them. That's back to back.
Yes.
To make it there, that says a lot. So.
And speaking of back to back, we had Mr. Falcone, owner of the Newport Gulls of the New England Collegiate Baseball League, and we'd like to congratulate them on beating the Sanford Mainers 2-1. They were down 1-0. They went up they were losing at Cardines Field, go up to Maine. Game gets suspended in the 7th inning. They moved the game back to Cardines, where they finished off Game 2, and then win Game 3 to go back-to-back in the New England Collegiate Baseball League. We had Mr. Falcone on earlier this year, and if you didn't get there this year, please make every effort you can to get down to Cardines Field in Newport. It is a gem of a stadium and such a great location. Rhode Island Football Club, with 11 games left in the season, 6 at Bryant, are now in 7th place. A legit chance at 4th place for a team that came out of the gates really slow. There's a logjam at 4th and 5th place with teams having 35 points. 6th place team has 33 points, and Rhode Island Football Club with 32 points. Pat, you follow this a little bit closer than I do. RIFC really doing well.
Yeah, and funny, they were in Indianapolis the night before I got there. So they did lose that game, and then came home, and they had their big game against Hartford, which is a cross state line rival, and won that 3-0. And they do have a game tonight against Oakland. So,
and the interesting thing about last week's game against Hartford that we were talking about, it was sold out in advance.
Yeah, which is great.
And speaking of sell, I tried to get tickets for this weekend up at Polo Park for the Woo Sox, and we can talk about this a little bit later on. Woo Sox, general admission still available. You might be able to get 1 or 2 reserved seats here or there, but pretty much for the most part, Woo Sox sold out last night, tonight, and tomorrow. They got the 3 big call-ups. We might get an opportunity to talk about them. We had Bill Wamlis on a month or so ago. He had talked about the big call-ups, maybe 6 weeks. He was hoping maybe around the All-Star break they get called up. But they got called up just this past week, and those 3 big guys are Teal. I'm trying to blank on the other. Roman Anthony, Marcelo Meyer, and Kyle Teal. Right, so off to some slow starts, those guys, but with Worcester, but they've rocketed through the system in the Red Sox system. But So yeah, but we open the phone line. We want to hear from you. We're gonna start with some Patriots talk. Pat was at the game the other day. We open up the phone lines to you at 766-1240, 401-766-1240. We really want to hear from you. Did you watch the Patriots against the Eagles game Thursday night? Pat, you were there. Before I ask you your thoughts on the game, we talked briefly off the air yesterday. You listened to the Boston talking heads. And, I thought it was going to be Woonsocket's JV football team going up against the Philadelphia Eagles Thursday night. And it wasn't like that at all. What were your thoughts? You were there. You had nice seats up in the end zone. And,
luckily enough, I was able to get tickets, and I was up in the GP atrium, which is the new suites up next to or under the lighthouse, really. So. Which is a great take if you can get them. But yeah, listen to the local talk heads, you would think, especially about Drake May.
Right.
I mean, you would think the kid's never played football before, or they, but in all, I thought he looked. Now, you got to take it for what it is, right? Philadelphia didn't really play a lot of their starters.
Oh no,
but yeah,
it's the exhibition season. I get it.
out of the quarterbacks that played, I thought Drake looked great. He only played, I think, 17 snaps. He was 6 for 11, 47 yards. They did have him not under center for most of those dropbacks. Mm-hmm. So it sounds like they're putting together some schemes for him to at least be successful.
Pardon me for a second. 6 for 11 and 47 yards, but you also know they were inches away from being 7 for 11 for maybe 87 yards.
Yep.
I'm drawing a blank on the receiver's name, who laid out for the ball, perfectly placed ball.
Yeah, Javon Baker.
Thank you, Baker. And at first blush, I just thought it was incomplete, maybe off his fingers. Upon the replay, it was in his hands, fell to the ground, and the ground knocked it loose. So that was a great throw.
A great read by May. I mean, he stepped up in the pocket. I think some of his, he's a young kid still. Some of his development is going to be knowing that he still has enough time to step up, maybe stay in the pocket a little longer, let his receivers make a break. I think there was 1 or 2 plays where he seemed to rush it and get out and scramble, but he did throw the ball away a couple of times, which I thought was even hey, you get out of the pocket maybe a little earlier, but instead of trying to throw it downfield or throwing it cross, which we got used to, right? Oh, I'm going to run to my right, but I'm going to throw it all the way across the left. He throws it out of bounds.
Yeah, no cross body throws for interception. So were you there right at the beginning of the game? Were you able to catch everything from the beginning?
I was, and obviously they're going to start Brissett. He's going to come out of the gate starting. He didn't look good at all.
No,
to me. I mean, especially he forced up the interception into the end zone. So
that to me was like, okay, I'm getting the working out the kinks, but a decent little drive going.
Yep.
But that pick in the end zone, I almost expect that out of Drake May or Joe Milton. I don't expect that out of Jacoby Brissett. I know he's not a Hall of Fame quarterback by any stretch of the imagination, but that pick, it really just cannot be thrown there.
Not in the red zone.
No.
You have a nice drive going.
Right.
You're going to get 3 regardless. That's what's going to set them apart this year from being a 2-win team or a 4 or 5 or 6 win team. Is you get down to the red zone. Last year we got down the red zone, we couldn't score.
Right.
Maybe they turned the ball over, but now it's like this year you get this. Brissett is expected to come in and be a number 1 quarterback until we're ready to hand it off to May. That you can't have.
Right.
So.
Well,
but defensively, I thought they looked pretty good. Again, they're not going up against a lot of ones, but I kind of understand the Judon move.
Yeah.
Like I think it's like, hey, we don't need him. When not that they don't need him, but we're not going to pay him or overpay him. Where we can scheme, run more stunts, and they get this kid White, who I think they think can make some plays. I don't know, is he going to go for 12.5 sacks? Probably not, but.
Well, as we transition into Judon, and if you have your thoughts on the game, what did you see on callers out there 766-1240 on Thursday night's game on the Matthew Judon trade to Atlanta for a 3rd round draft pick? again, you just said it, Pat. In a way, you're like, oh, they're going to be a 2-win team, or if they do this, that, and the other, maybe get the 5, 6, 7-win team. I think we both agree that they're not going to make the playoffs. Judon, we talked last week when we had Tyler Hitu on from the Sun Chronicle. He's probably looking for a 3 or 4 year deal. Well, he's 32 years old. He's on the back nine of his football career. And by getting him to Atlanta, fine, go help Atlanta. They're in the NFC anyway. Who cares about them? But you get a 3rd round draft pick. If you're that's gonna be a top 100 pick.
Yeah.
You got an offensive line you need to build. You want more receivers. You might need a new pass rush. Now you're owning picks. Your own number 1 next year, which might be a top 10. And then you got Atlanta's 3, your 3. I'm assuming Patriots have it too. Now you're starting to stockpile your picks for next year. I think the Judon trade is really good for the Patriots. It's been lauded in the league as a good trade for the Patriots. One of those trades that's actually good for both teams. Atlanta does get Judon, but a lot of people think it's a better trade for the Patriots.
I think most of the league GMs were surprised that they were going to get a 3rd.
Right.
And they had multiple teams. I mean, Chicago was in on it. Now there's the debate of wouldn't you take Chicago versus taking Atlanta's pick? It's like, what's the difference between, maybe it's 9 spots?
Right.
I mean, I don't
think...
And
who knows if Chicago was offering 3rd round? Was it Chicago's 4th round, or was it Chicago's 3rd?
So supposedly it was same deal. Third round.
Okay.
Everyone's going off of Vegas's numbers of who's going to finish where, and they have, but... and supposedly Atlanta has, they're coming out of the NFC West.
Atlanta's the way.
So, a much easier road, easier schedule. But at the end of the day, they could be off by a couple picks. But I don't think that they're going to draft at that. I think they're going to use those picks to package.
You're right.
So I would. That's my suspicion, at least.
Yeah.
I think for them to get a 3rd round pick for him now. Was fantastic, regardless of which team they went with. I mean, you can debate it all you want of whether you go with Chicago or, and then it was like, well, maybe they didn't go to Chicago because they have to play him and they don't want him coming in here and, with 5 sacks and now the fans are all over him.
And it could be just a matter of, too, the Patriots have a better relationship with Atlanta than they do with Chicago.
Could be.
And it could have been that Chicago was just dragging their feet. They wanted something else. Maybe they threw in something that the reporters don't know. And the Patriots said, you know what, we got this thing with Atlanta. We're fine. Judon, have a good time.
Remember, this is also the same Atlanta that went out and spent a ton of money signing what was supposed to be their next franchise quarterback, and then took a quarterback in the 1st round.
Right.
So there's questions of whether their front office really legitimately have a plan or know what they're doing or not. They could make enough moves to put them in a low pick situation for the Patriots. So.
Exactly. That'd be nice. I think of Atlanta. I think 28-3. And
exactly.
Really can't get past that. The look of the owner on the sideline with his escort girlfriend there, and
oh yeah, come down, stand on the sideline, and then
good time. So we're gonna hear from friends on the other side. But when we come back, I'd like to talk a little bit more about the game that you were at and what I watched, and some more Drake May things. In the second part of the show, we'll get into some of the things with the Red Sox, some Jarren Duran, and some other issues. But when we come back, I'd like to talk a little bit more about the Patriots. You were there. I'd like to hear their thoughts on the crowd, or lack thereof, or were they loud and everything. So when we come back on 99.5 FM, 1240 AM, OneSoccerRadio.com, we'd also like to hear from you as well. What are your thoughts on New England Patriots Thursday night game against the Eagles? Matthew Judon, Drake May, who should be quarterbacking? We want to hear from you on 766-1240. We'll be back right after these messages.
Stress-free car shopping is what you will encounter at Tasket Buick GMC of Woonsocket. In stock is the latest Buick and GMC models like the Buick Encore GX, Envision, GMC Sierra 1500, Acadia, and Terrain. Tasket Buick GMC of Woonsocket has a wide selection of pre-owned automobiles. These vehicles undergo many point checks before going on sale. Plus, they come with a warranty and an auto check certified history. Check out the entire inventory of new and pre-owned cars online at TasketBuickGMC.com. Tasket Buick GMC, Thornton Drive, Woonsocket. You will be satisfied.
When you're ill and need same-day care, remember North Smithfield Urgent Care and Lincoln Urgent Care for affordable and accessible care. You'll always be seen by a board-certified physician who will assess the problem and make you feel safe and reassured. Check their websites for convenient patient and medical forms, which you may fill out before the visit. North Smithfield Urgent Care, 594 Great Road, North Smithfield, 768-3400. And Lincoln Urgent Care, 2 Wake Robin Road, Lincoln. 333-9595.
Woonsocket Door Sales, a fourth-generation family business, has served southern New England since 1935. They can handle all types of projects from the simpler residential installations to more complex commercial projects, always concerned with infrastructure and framework for the perfect fit. They even install doors for fire stations and medical facilities. Installation and repair. Woonsocket Door Sales, 767-3448. They'll remove and dispose the old doors. Woonsocket Door Sales, 767-3448.
When you visit their website at MichaudAutobody.com, you'll see some very interesting information, including frequently asked questions about coverage if you're not at fault, regulations about replacement costs, or having to visit an insurer's claim center. Know the law and your rights. You'll also see a photo gallery of Michaud's extra clean facility. It has to be to accommodate the requirements of sensitive paint textures and applications. Michaud's Auto Body is a gold-class repair facility located at 430 Privilege Street, Woonsocket, 769-1983.
We're local and live at 99.5.
And welcome back to Kevin's Sports Show. Kevin Callahan joined by Pat Holland here. Pat, you were just looking up the draft picks for the upcoming season, especially coming out of the Matthew Judon trade. What do the Patriots have?
Yeah, so next year they do have they have a first, a second, they have 2 thirds with the Atlanta third. They have a fourth, a fifth, and a 7th. So they lost their 6th, and last year when they traded for J.C. Jackson, they traded a 6th-round pick to L.A. Chargers for him, and a 7th-round pick. So I think they had a 7th round that they gave up as well. So, but they do have, they're going to stockpile.
Yeah.
And I mean, again, they know this is a rebuilding team.
Right.
So
I think everybody knows that. I think everybody's. I wouldn't necessarily say we're comfortable with it because the 5th year of them really, not making the playoff. Well, they made it with Mac Jones. They didn't make it with Cam Newton. Obviously, they didn't make it last year with Mac Jones. So it's been 5 years post Brady. But I'd like to go back to the game and again, once again, your thoughts if you have any 766-1240 401-766-1240. On WOO and OneSoccerRadio.com. So, Pat, watching the game, and one of the things I did hear from the talking heads up in Boston throughout the course of the week that did play out in the game, 3 muff snaps that I remember from center by people not named David Andrews. Did you see any more than that? First of all, do you remember off the top of your head? Was it 3?
No, I think it was 3.
Okay. But this was a problem from all different centers that they've had all week. They had it in the joint practice. So basically, David Andrews better not miss any time at center. Some of the guys want to see Michael Anawanu go from the right side to the left side to protect, Jacoby or Drake May as well. That hasn't happened yet. I don't know how do you fix the center position? Talk about, not that I want to get into a whole offensive line talk because, it's offensive line. Nobody really cares that much. But
they had, who were the 2 guys? I believe it was Liam Fornadell and Antonio Maffi were the 2, I guess, backup centers. Yeah. Maffi's slated to be the backup. Fornadell is the 3rd guy. And it was just... just bad snaps. So obviously they had to clean that up. You hope you never have Andrews go down. He's a pivotal part of that offensive line, which they're trying to piece together. I mean, that's really to me, that's the biggest weakness right now is the offensive line.
Right.
I mean, I don't care who's back there, but if you don't have someone that can protect them, it doesn't matter. So when whoever they're going to have play left and right tackle, I think they had, you're going to see some of these as you start seeing guys get waived. You're going to see them picking up some of these offensive linemen,
Right.
especially if they're tackles.
And the word on the street is I don't want to great on the right side, good on the left.
Yeah.
But you need great on the left to protect. And let's get right into this as well. And your thoughts too on the Patriots offensive line, the quarterback. Your thoughts on Drake May. All right, so you had Jacoby Brissett start. I agree with you. I think he's starting the year. But an interesting thing I heard about Drake May this year, coming out of North Carolina, he's 21 years old. His senior year of high school was was a COVID year, and not sure where when they played around here. They played some spring football. There wasn't a lot of fall football. It was a broken up type of season. Then he goes in to North Carolina. He comes out as a 21-year-old. Joe Milton's a 6-year college quarterback. So Drake May is a work in progress. So do you want to throw him to the wolves in the NFL? Basically, just 4 years out of high school, and throw him to the wolves with an offensive line that's not ready to protect him, or do you want to bench him but sit him for the year, learn under Jacoby Brissett, and then maybe Jacoby can bring along some of these receivers, these highly touted young receivers, that they're trying to develop. I mean, what are your thoughts? I mean, when do we go to Drake May? Do you go in 2025? Do you go in 2024 at some point this year?
I think, he did put up some impressive stats at UNC. I mean, his first year was, he didn't play much at all, and then 2022-23, he started most of the games. But, I think we see him at some point this year. They're going to turn it over to him.
You think he's
probably sometime after, my best guess would be sometime in November. Depending on how the season's going, I see them going to him. He did, like I said, he didn't look out of place. And for everything I've read and seen and heard, in 7v7 drills the last couple of weeks, he's looked fantastic.
Right.
You go to the 11v11, not so much. Philadelphia, there was one, during their controlled practices, 11v11, it was like he got sacked 14 times.
Yeah.
It's like that's an offensive line issue. That's not a Drake May issue.
Right.
I mean, maybe there was a play that he could have read a little differently.
As a rookie, maybe.
I'm thinking 90% of those are, who this left tackle that they had, Vidarian Lowe.
Yeah.
I mean, he looked like he had never played the position the other night.
Well, and this is where I flip flop. I want to see Drake May out there. I agree with you. Starting in all right, November, October, we all agree that they're going to be an under 500 team. But do I want to throw Drake May out there with what's going to be beyond David Andrews and hopefully Michael Onwenu, if they both stay healthy, a rotating cast of characters that is going to look completely different in week 5 than it does in week 2. Never mind from now. And who knows who can protect Drake May? He's your third overall draft pick. And if nobody can protect him, do you want to continue to throw him to the wolves?
Well, here's what I say: if they're saying Alex Van Pelt created a system for him to be successful the other night, are you creating two different systems? So Brissett's playing, it's one option. He goes in, it's a different. If you're going to create a system for the kid, why don't you just have him play?
No.
And whether it's he's more in shotgun and he's running read option, I get it. They don't want to get the kid killed and they don't want to get his,
the whole psyche.
Yeah, psychologically, right? You go out there, it's like okay, but it is what it is at this point. But I could see him. I can see it transitioning over, to him, probably halfway through the season, if not sooner. I mean, if Brissett goes down for any reason, I don't see Bailey Zappi sticking around much longer. They got to make a decision there, unless they unless they move Milton to the practice squad, which I believe they can do before the season,
Prior to the
without
season.
him having to go through any waivers or
Right.
anything like that.
I think Milton
But-
gets claimed by a team if they try to stash him.
And Milton, he is a physical specimen.
He had that
he's-
third and 8. We were talking about this
Yeah.
yesterday. He only gained 6 yards, but he probably should have only gained 4.
Yeah.
He knocked the linebacker, defensive back, back 2
and
yards,
he's-
lowering his shoulder.
He's almost at full speed within like a stride and a half.
Right.
And then he lowered his shoulder and he knocked. I mean, he knocked the guy 2.5 yards back.
And
And he jumps right up like
right.
nothing.
And he can sling it. The word on him is, he 6 years of college, over 2 different colleges. He showed the glimpses with the great arm, the great legs, the great toughness. And the thing with him is he can never put all pieces together, which is probably the reason why he dropped to the 6th round. I think the Patriots hoping that they can continue to develop him. I don't know if they want to develop him to be Drake May's primary backup, or if they have other visions in him, or if he's just, how they're going to use him.
I originally thought when they drafted him, they were going to consider him at a different position.
Yeah.
Whether it be a slot or a tight end type of guy. He's big enough,
Right.
and he has the speed. His arm is like I mentioned to you. He rolled out on one play, and after watching it on the replay, he threw it down. I think it was to Polk. He didn't make the catch. It hit him in the hands, but he was covered. But then when they show the replay, I go, he flicked his wrist, and it was a 40-yard pass
Right.
down the sideline. I mean, without, it's like, so you don't see that often.
Right.
But yeah, he's certainly not. He's not ready at all. He hasn't put it all together, but he is. Again, I don't know.
And on the Bailey Zappi, it made it clear last week. You just sort of you said as well. I don't see him sticking around. I don't have Zappi fever. And even in the game Thursday night, there was a little bit of excitement because he came into the game with about 2:25 to go in the game, like maybe a little 2-minute offense here, and he started getting some things going. And the third and final muff snap was pretty much the end of the game for Bailey Zappi, and you wonder if that's the end of Bailey Zappi's Patriots career, though the snap was not his fault. I heard this, and I forget where I heard it. You thought Bailey Zappi in a possible trade to the Minnesota Vikings. Because right now they're going to be going with Sam Darnold because their starting quarterback just went out for the year, if I'm not mistaken, in Minnesota.
Yeah, which, and I think I mentioned this to you, probably a good thing for May.
Yes.
Right? J.J. McCarthy goes down with a meniscus.
Right.
They thought it was just going to be a go in and clean it up.
Yeah.
But then they go in there and it's, you're done for the season.
Right.
So now he doesn't have to worry about J.J. starting, having success, and then everyone going like, well, we drafted the wrong guy.
Right.
And then there's, questions about like, well, the Giants really wanted May. They would have given you a first-round pick next year for him. Why didn't you do that?
Right.
So, yeah, Zapp, I didn't see a lot of his time. We were up in the lighthouse.
Right.
We went all the way up, which
Yeah.
was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
But when we
I
got
know
back
that.
down, I did see the muff snap. But a lot of people said, if they didn't muff that, he was driving. I guess they were
He
driving.
had a little drive going. He was
but,
2 for 3, 3 for
and then-
4, and he had something going against the third stringers for Philadelphia, the fourth stringers for Philadelphia.
What we do know is they're not going to keep 4 quarterbacks.
Right.
So
The last time they did that, Tom Brady was the fourth
he's
string
going to be
quarterback.
he's going to be out. My guess is, and maybe they're looking to send him. Maybe they send him to Minnesota for a late pick. Maybe they get a 6th-round pick back for him.
Or something, even like a 7th round 2 years from now. They get something from him because again, obviously they're not getting rid of May. There's no way they're getting rid of Joe Milton. Like you said, they're going to do
think so.
something,
Yeah.
put him on the practice squad, activate him somehow. Jacoby Brissett is there basically to mentor May and probably Milton. On Zappi, he doesn't fit on that team at all. He wants to play. He's 25.
They cut him last year.
They cut him last year. Nobody wanted him. I think that's
but so
and re-signed him.
It's going to all play itself out within the next 2 weeks.
You're right. And like everybody else, we're just trying to speculate on what they're going to do without the Patriots, talking to us about what they want to do.
Yeah,
I don't
think,
understand why.
I mean, my guess is that they'll either gonna end up waiving him, and maybe they bring him back on the practice squad, or they cut up. They trade. They get some trade in place. You don't see a lot of those trades happening.
No,
at this time of year.
I think what you said is they're going to cut him. If nobody wants him, they'll say, "Hey, do you want to?" Basically, do you want to be on our practice squad? We'll sign you for this. His agent may explore some other teams.
Yeah, and he might sign as a practice squad player somewhere else, just to say, hey,
Yeah.
I've been here, done this.
There's just no future for him in New England.
Right.
Not knowing the rest of the league and where they are in their depth chart and quarterbacks, I would think that there's probably a better future for him on another team.
And we talked about this last week with Tyler, that maybe last week his reps were so he could get some game film,
Right.
They can get it out there and do a solid for him.
And and other than the must snap, which everyone agrees was not his fault, he had a nice little drive going against the backups against Philadelphia.
Yeah, he was
maybe a chance.
he was 3 for 4,
Right.
30 yards. So he was actually averaging over 7 yards a throw, where
Right.
everyone else is a little bit lower. But the running backs, look pretty good. And then you get these young receivers, which ultimately it is what it is.
Right. Well, they were ranked 32nd out of 32.
Yeah, so
coming into camp.
Polk, Baker, Thornton. They're gonna have to make some plays. That I forgot that they signed Hooper as a tight end, and he looked pretty good out there.
I didn't see Hunter Henry in the game. Was he inactive, or did I just not see him?
He wasn't. I don't know if he was inactive, but he didn't play.
Okay.
And I think they said he had missed a couple of days of practice coming out of the last preseason game, so he might have been a little banged up. But I think hoping he has a big season for them. They're
Really
going to need
hoping
him.
so. Yeah.
They're not going to throw downfield a lot, but they did. Like I said, they did. Looking at it, and I had a good vantage point. It did look like Alex Van Pelt had most of the throws downfield were to isolated receivers on the outside, and anything under was under and across,
Right.
Or to the outside flat to the running backs. They did run a couple of screens.
My last Patriot thought before we cut to break and come back on the other side with some Red Sox talk. The 51-yard field goal, was that towards your end of the field or towards the other end of the field?
The other end.
The other end of the field. That was a beautiful kick.
Yeah.
51 yards, right down the middle, right down the middle of the field. That looked like, and it looked like it hit the net at the back of the end zone.
Yeah, a lot of leg on it.
So it looks like a legit kicker in camp. That might help the Patriots' offense this year.
That was Sly.
Yards.
So that was the other kid he's been in the league for 6 years, I think, out of Virginia Tech. So he has a strong leg and.
Again, kicker talk is right above offensive line talk and defensive line talk, so I don't want to spend too much time on it, but it's like...
And then the new kickoff is pretty fun to watch.
Is it? All right. I do want to get your thoughts on the new kickoff. Yeah, you get to experience
we can get back
it,
to it,
and then we'll get back to the Red Sox on the other side. So let's hear some of our friends on the other side, and we'll be back on Kevin's Sports Show. We also want to hear from you, 401-766-1240. You just waking up, having some coffee? Call on in. Let's hear your thoughts on the Patriots, on the Red Sox, everything else that's going through your mind here on OneSocketRadio.com.
ON Radio.
Welcome to summer, and John Moran of AJ Moran Incorporated says now is the time to get those projects done that you've been putting off. Masonry, patios, walkways, hardscape, and landscape. AJ Moran will work with you to create the design that you want. Your web destination to contact AJ Moran Incorporated is ajmoraninc.com or search AJ Moran Incorporated on Facebook. AJ Moran Incorporated has been servicing Massachusetts and Rhode Island for more than 30 years. Contact John Moran at 781-267-6827. 781-267-6827. AJ Moran Incorporated.
State Line Service and Tire Center is a third-generation family business that believes in repairing your vehicle properly and efficiently the first time. In addition, they provide a full complement of preventive services like checking batteries, belts and hoses, exhaust, headlight restoration, emission testing, and engine light pop-ups. Their ASE certified technicians are right up to date with the latest technology. Vehicle problems are their business. State Line Service and Tire Center, 1209 Social Street, Woonsocket, 765-0146.
The world-class distributor of all things electrical is Electrical Wholesalers. They are a full-service electrical distributor with branches throughout Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and New Hampshire. Locally, they're at 113 Clinton Street next to KFC here in Woonsocket, with other locations in Cranston and Franklin, Massachusetts. Electrical Wholesalers provides the highest quality service to electrical contractors as well as residential, commercial, and industrial customers. Electrical Wholesalers is open Monday through Friday, 7 in the morning till 5 in the afternoon. Visit ew-ne.com. Electrical Wholesalers. This ON Radio weather forecast is sponsored by Interstate Seal Coating. Call Lance at 401-349-9360 for seal coating and crack filling to parking lot striping. Call Lance at 349-9360 today and he'll seal you tomorrow. More clouds than sun today with a high of 80 degrees and a calm wind. Tonight, cloudy skies, overnight low of 64. Sunday's weather, cloudy in the morning, gradual clearing with a high of 80. Monday, a rainy day with highs around 77 degrees. Tuesday, partial sunshine, 69. Wednesday, mostly sunny, high of 71. Thursday, mostly sunny, 76. And on Friday, mostly sunny skies and a high of 78 degrees.
And currently outside the Navigant Credit Union broadcast studio at the corner of Park Ave and Kennedy Street, we have 73.4 degrees. And welcome back to Kevin's Sports Show. As always, I'm joined by Pat Holland here on 99.5 FM and 1240 AM, OneSoccerRadio.com. We want to hear from you as well. 766-1240, 766-1240. Your thoughts, Patriots. Your thoughts, Red Sox. We'll get to a few other things as well. Right before we went to break, Pat brought up the interesting kickoff, and I did want to talk about it, and I was telling Pat off air, I swear every time I think I understand it 100%, the more I think about it, the more I get confused, and teams can return the ball to the 20, it can be started at the 20, the 30, the 40, but all I do know is that the kick is designed to be returned and less touchbacks. Pat, what are your thoughts on the kickoff rule?
Yeah, it's different. I think I think until someone breaks one back, people are going to be, it's not,
skeptical.
Yeah, it's a little skeptical, but it was definitely fun to watch. I don't think anyone took the landing zone, but they were showing it up on the screen of where the landing zone was and trying to.
I wish they'd just call it the red zone because it's the same area.
Right.
People understand the red zone.
But one of the Patriots. I don't know. I don't recall his name, but he's certainly a guy who's probably not going to be on the team, or he's going to be a special team.
He may have earned a special team slot.
He almost broke one. I think he got one back to the 47 over the 50. So it was like a 52-yard return. But he did get caught from behind. But it's there to allow for more returns and less real physical damage from the other guys on the field.
They don't want the people getting hit
a full running start,
full 19-mile-an-hour run anymore. The only thing I detest about the new kickoff rules, and we didn't see it last week, and we're probably not going to see it in preseason at all. I detest the onside rule, and I'm not sure if you know it, but for the people out there that don't know, you cannot go for an onside kick now until the fourth quarter, and only if you're losing. And you have to tell the other team that you're going to do an onside kick. Yeah. One of the most exciting plays was in the Super Bowl when I think it was, oh my gosh,
Saints and Indy
Colts. Yeah. They started off the second half, coming out of the 45-minute Super Bowl break with an onside kick to start the second half.
That they recovered,
and they recovered it.
Yeah.
And now you can't do that. It's to your disadvantage if you're going to go for an onside kick. And not recover.
Right.
You're giving the ball to the other team at the 45-yard line.
Right.
You should be able to go for an onside kick at any time. You don't have to tell anybody the rule. I have a little problem with even like the extra point being so far out where you're like, no, I want to go for 2, and you have to move the ball all the way to the 2-yard line. There's too much manipulation going on there. But to not be allowed to go for an onside kick.
Yeah, it would be. Like in baseball, like we're gonna bunt now.
We're gonna bunt now. Oh no,
with the guy on third, we're
gonna do a suicide squeeze.
Yeah, we're bunting, and he's coming down the line. Okay.
And only in the 8th and 9th inning, and only if you're losing.
Right. So,
are you kidding me?
That's a good segue.
Yeah.
To the Red Sox, right?
Yeah, very good. Speaking of Red Sox, it seems like every week, Pat. About 4 weeks ago, they were a half a game up in the wild card. The following week, they were a half a game back in the wild card. Last week, they were 1.5 back in the wild card, and with last night's win, they remain 2.5 games back in the wild card. Yeah, I had in my little notes, until they won last night. So I took away
Which was there was no guarantee last night. And I think I said it to you. You know, I looked to see who was pitching. I said, Bernardino's pitching. This is a bullpen game. I go, they're going to have to score at least 12 runs.
Yeah.
And then they went up. They were up pretty quick.
They were up 4-1. They were up 8-4. They were up 10-6, 11-6, 10-6,
10-6.
10-6.
Yeah, it did take a dozen. It did take a dozen runs in the end. But we've been saying this week over week, like, just got to win series. But now it's like, not only do you have to win series, but you have to have other teams start to lose. So,
right, and that's the thing. Like
Minnesota and Kansas City have been winning.
Yep.
Obviously, you beat Baltimore, which helps New York. Would like to take this next game from them, and take this series.
The encouraging thing is there you do have Ryan Baio pitching today, and Baio, who had been struggling his last 2 starts, I believe, no decision. So I'm going off the top of my head here, but I think he's gone 6+ innings in his last 2 starts, giving up. I think it was only like 2 earned runs last time, or one.
One.
It was 1-1. Okay. And both games, I think the Sox lost, and I think both games he left with the Sox winning.
Nope. They won the last start.
Did they win?
But he got a no decision.
Okay.
He went 6, gave up 4 hits, 1 run, 1 earned, 3 walks, 5 Ks. And then the bullpen came in and did. That's the game I believe they won in extra innings.
Okay. So Baio only pitched, I guess, 60% of the game.
It's almost like a complete reversal of what was happening before the All-Star break. The starters are now getting into the 6th or late 5th.
Right.
Baio pitched 6. Crawford, his last start, it was 5 1/3. Houck was 6 2/3 his last start. Pivetta went 5. But the bullpen has been atrocious.
It's been Kenley Jansen was good last night. He's been the most consistent person of the bullpen, and that was the guy at the beginning of the year. I'll fully admit, I'm like, okay, yeah, sell him at the trade deadline, because I didn't think the Sox would be in this position. I didn't think he was going to be consistent, and he's been the most consistent pitcher for the Boston Red Sox from beginning to now, coming out of the bullpen. So happily admit I was wrong on Kenley Jansen, who pitched a great 9th inning last night.
The big loss from them was on, I believe it was Wednesday.
Oh, that with 2 strikes, they were up 2.
Yeah, they're up. The bullpen comes in. They give up 7 runs, 5 earned.
Right.
3 strikeouts. They gave up 3 home runs. So.
And I think that's the position that they're in now, Pat. Is okay. Yeah, we know you win series. But we know they're going to lose some games. You can't lose that game. You can't lose games in the 9th inning. You can't lose games that you're up by 2-3 runs late
with 2 outs.
With 2 outs in the last inning.
A tailor-made ground ball.
Right. So those are the games you cannot. You have to take advantage of every opportunity like that to get the win in that situation. Encouraging for the Sox last night. If you have any thoughts on the Red Sox and where they go in their final 50 or so games this year, feel free to give us a call, 766-1240, 401-766-1240. The Red Sox last night beat a very good Corbin Burnes. All-star pitcher Corbin Burnes bumped his ERA from 2.9 to 3.1 last night. Yep. We were talking again a little bit off air. It might be a topic for another week. Starting pitching isn't what it used to be, 15, 20 years ago. But Corbin Burnes is up there. He's one of the elite younger pitchers in Major League Baseball. And Red Sox took it to him last night. 12 runs. How many? 4 home runs.
He pitched 4, 10 hits, 8 earned runs, 3 walks, 7 Ks. He gave up 2, I believe.
He gave up 2 of the 4 home runs that the Red Sox hit last night. So the Red Sox are hitting Burnes. They got to come out of the game last night knowing they can hit anybody. I mean, Burnes is really he's legit.
I think he leads the league in quality starts. He's 26.
Yeah.
Quality starts.
6.5 innings a game, just under that. He's a strike more than a strikeout per inning pitcher. with good control. So Red Sox, yes, obviously pitchers have off nights as well, but Corbin Burns is legit. Tristan Casas, we've been talking about him basically since the show started.
Finally back.
He's back, and I did look him up. He did hit 300 in Worcester.
Yep.
Played about 4 games, got about 10 at bats, 3 hits. I think he hit a home run as well.
Yep.
I'm not sure how he did defensively. If he played first, if they DH'd him, they probably worked him in a few innings. They do that on minor league rehabs. I was out last night, did not get a chance to see much of the game. You said you saw him play. How did he look to you?
He looked good. He was 1 for 5. He did score a run. He looked good swinging the bat. I mean, he didn't. He still says that when he fouls balls off, he can feel it.
Right.
That's when he's still in some pain, and but he looked good in the field. He didn't have to make any plays other than.
That's the beauty of first base.
Yeah,
I mean, you get occasional great plays.
There might have been a play that he maybe could have gotten to on a sharply hit ground ball to the right side, but it's good to have. It's certainly good to have him back. Tough to see, I feel for Dom Smith.
I feel for Dom Smith. I usually don't feel bad for major leaguers and whatever, and he gets designated for assignment. And I think Dom Smith has done everything you've asked him to do. He's hitting about 235, 240. Nothing great. It's actually not bad by today's standards of Major League Baseball batting average. He's had a walk-off hit. He's played a good first base. Another lefty bat. I know Casas is a lefty as well, but it's I feel bad for Dom Smith. I'm assuming he's going to clear waivers. He's just going to end up back down in Worcester, where Reese McGuire is right now as well. I mean, he had 6 home runs, 29 runs scored, 34 RBIs, OBP of 31. Okay.
Slugged at 39, OPS of 7. I mean, he did everything. He filled the need.
He didn't hurt you.
I think he gets
help
it.
You.
So I would assume he'll make it through waivers and he'll end up down in Worcester. And
right. Because if you add him now to your major league roster, if you're a playoff team, then you probably have to a playoff contending team. You probably have to add him to your playoff roster. Yeah. That might be how that works. And
correct.
And if you're not a playoff team, then I don't see a need to grab. No. So I do think he ends up at Worcester. And then kind of like I won't call it breaking news, but something I read yesterday. The Sox are about to sign 44-year-old lefty Rich Hill. I'm 54, but I got hope. If they're signing old lefties, why not? I mean, I can go in. I probably can't throw as good as Rich Hill, but I think you can get somebody out.
Rich Hill coming off of his coaching of his, I think, 14U AAU team out in Western Mass.
And it would be his at least second or third go-around with the Red Sox. And now you're getting into who hasn't Rich Hill played for. I remember him pitching for the Paw Sox. Going back 10 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, you got the Cubs, Orioles, a stint with the Sox, Cleveland, Angels, Yankees, back with Boston, Oakland, Dodgers, Minnesota, Tampa Bay, New York Mets, back with the Red Sox, Pittsburgh, San Diego last year. And obviously nobody this year, but
it's been a whirlwind.
I don't know if they. I read reports that it was a done deal. They signed him, and he was going to report to Worcester. And then I've heard reports that it's hasn't happened yet. But
I can't imagine what the holdup would be. I'm thinking major league minimum, prorated.
Yeah, this is a guy who's probably he can throw 90 in his sleep.
Yeah.
Without stretching.
Obviously, he's being brought in to replace James Paxton, who's out now for the year now with that calf injury, covering first base. So we're going to take our final break here from our friends on the other side. When we come back, we're going to wrap up, the final 5-10 minutes of the show. We still have time to hear from you at 401-766-1240. Your thoughts on the Patriots, your thoughts on the Red Sox. We'll finish up with some Red Sox and then wrap up the show. We'll be back on 99.5 FM, 1240 AM, OneSoccerRadio.com. We'll be back right after these messages.
ON Radio.
Stress-free car shopping is what you will encounter at Tasker Buick GMC of Woonsocket. In stock is the latest Buick and GMC models like the Buick Encore GX, Envision, GMC Sierra 1500, Acadia, and Terrain. Tasker Buick GMC of Woonsocket has a wide selection of pre-owned automobiles. These vehicles undergo many point checks before going on sale. Plus, they come with a warranty and an auto check certified history. Check out the entire inventory of new and pre-owned cars online at TasketBuickGMC.com. Taskett Buick GMC, Thornton Drive, Woonsocket. You will be satisfied. Featuring traditional dishes from Mexico to your table is Bandito's Mexican Restaurant, 2120 Diamond Hill Road in Woonsocket. Bandito's Mexican Restaurant is your go-to place for tacos, burritos, tequila, margaritas, and more. So today, when you're wondering where to get the best Mexican food in Woonsocket, remember Bandito's Mexican Restaurant. Bandito's, with locations on Broad Street in Cumberland, Park Street in Attleboro, and soon in Pawtucket, is open daily at 12 in Woonsocket.
If you're celebrating a major event, regardless of the reason, Michael's Meats of Cumberland can elevate your next meal from ordinary to extraordinary with meats so good your guests will ask you where you got them. Tell them, Michael's Meats. Michael's Meats is in the Walgreens parking lot on Mendon Road in Cumberland, just north of the Ciabro Plaza. They're open Monday through Saturday at 9 a.m., making your next meal truly special. Here's this week's specials at Michael's Meats.
And at Michael's Meats, we have Michael's marinated shrimp kebabs for just $8.99 a pound at Michael's Meats. Thank you, Michael. We are back here on Kevin's Sports Show. I'm Kevin Callahan, along with Pat Holland. And Pat, we got to talk about. We haven't talked about it yet. Jarren Duran, 2-game suspension. Obviously, it's all done. He served it, gave his money to the organizations, whatever. Your initial thoughts on Jarren Duran's suspension, and I'll give you mine.
It's a tough situation to be in. Obviously, what he said was picked up by a hot mic,
ESPN's live mic,
which is nobody else probably heard it, including the people who he was referencing it to.
Yeah, somebody said you can't hit with a tennis racket or something.
Yeah,
like
so
that.
It's unfortunate. He's a professional. I think he handled it fairly well. Served his suspension. I think a lot of people got behind him. I mean, it was shown as his
he set a record, and then it'll be a record for shirt sales in one day after the suspension. So I guess he's got the support of not only his teammates but fans around Major League Baseball as well.
Yeah, I think my take is it would be one thing, and I think I mentioned this to you, if he, walked over to the screen and said it directly to the person who was commenting to him. This was just something that was picked up. Right. We've all been in that situation, whether it was heard or not heard, I think. But he's a professional athlete. He gets paid to play the sport, and
right.
But
when Robin Ventura went after Nolan Ryan in a fight, when Nolan Ryan was 45 years old and Ventura was 27, you think some things were said in that fight, in the middle of that fight, that weren't picked up by a hot mic? I guess short story long on my end is he was between the white lines.
Yeah,
he was in the field of play. Things that are said on the ice in hockey, it's the things that are said in the scrum of a football during a fumble. We've heard things in basketball when the players are jumping in the crowd. He was in the batter's box or just stepped out. He was between the white lines in the field of play. He was 0 for 2. He didn't lead off the game.
He was struggling a little bit.
Struggling in the game. He said something that obviously not going to repeat it, but it's a relatively recent, like last 15 years or so. It's a word you can't say. Yes, he should know better. But he's in the field of play. I don't think you should be holding. I don't think he should have been held that accountable. And basically, he was mumbling under his breath, and ESPN happened to have a mic nearby.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I certainly understand today's day and age that it was picked up. Somebody has to pay his penance, if you will.
Right.
And so he's done it. He's moving on. Hopefully, it kind of lights a fire under him a little bit, which he had a great night last night. So, we'll go from there. Where do we want to go to?
I just overall, I think it was a little overblown, but okay, in the remaining, we got about 5 minutes, just under or so left. We brought up Blue Sox brought up the big three: Kyle Teal, Roman Anthony, Marcel Mayer. They got some more home games. If you got a chance to go out, check them out while they're playing at Polar Park. You had mentioned to me, Pat, this week that the U.S. men's soccer coach the national team just got themselves a new coach. What can you tell us about him?
Yeah.
And can you pronounce his name?
Mauricio Pochettino.
All right, there it is. And the history of him, Mauricio.
Yeah, so he's basically he's from Argentina.
Okay, they know this soccer.
The last couple of teams he's managed over at. He's just coming off of Chelsea, the Premier League. He was at Tottenham before that, Paris Saint-Germain of League One, where he's. This is the type of guy they had to go out and get. Someone with a European pedigree. Who's won League Cups over there. He's. I guess the downside of it is he's left a lot of these jobs because of his style of play. But I think it'll fit what the U.S. is looking to do. He's a high press, work it out of the back. I think it plays into Pulisic's skill set. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see it.
Does he get a longer leash on a U.S. national team versus a European or Argentinian team? Because soccer is, it's the fifth sport. Actually, you could even, it's probably even behind 6 or 7, behind college basketball, behind college football. Not that they don't sell out their games and everything, but does he get a longer leash? Basically, just people don't know him as well.
Maybe a little bit of a longer leash because the difference between coaching, at a Chelsea and coaching international. This is his first international stint. Is you're not with these guys every day,
right?
So he's only getting these guys when they come into camps before cups or World Cup, whatever the case may be. This allows him to stay at home in Europe where he is. A lot of the U.S. players are playing in Europe now, which wasn't the case 20 years ago. He was on the list for England.
Okay.
England's looking for a new coach too. That's a top 5 ranked program.
You're right.
So we're able to swoop in and grab him. I think this is a good move for them. They needed to make a big splash. There's going to be people out there that want him to sign, a U.S. homegrown MLS type coach, where there were some names out there, but I think they had to go. They had to go over. Klopp was who was at Liverpool, who retired. I know this is like Russian to you, but
no, I understand some of it. I'll give me about 3%.
Yeah.
Of
right.
Whereas, but I know most soccer people are in the 100%.
Sure.
I'm at 3%, but I'm above the 0% people.
Right. So big splash, and they needed to do it, and hopefully some of these higher profile U.S. players that are playing in Europe see this as like, hey, they're serious now. Let's go get the job done in 2026.
Yeah, I was going to say, with the World Cup coming in, obviously they're not going to be switching coaches again. So this is his gig.
Yep.
He's got 2 years. World Cup is here in the United States, in Foxborough. Foxborough's got 7 matches. I don't know if USA's will be
plus
playing
a
there.
quarterfinal.
Right. So actually, Foxborough has more matches, I believe, than any other venue in the World Cup. They're also, I think, in Canada and Mexico as well.
Yep.
And I know the championships, I think, are down at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey. So this is his gig. Win, lose, or draw. And is he facing more pressure to put this team together quickly and be productive because it is on home soil? You go lose the World Cup in Argentina, you get knocked out wherever, no big deal. I think a lot of people, with the World Cup being in the USA, are going to be expecting them to at least make the knockout round of 16, if not go a little bit further.
Regardless of who the coach was, the expectation is that U.S. soccer is getting through to the knockout. I mean, it has to be. If you're not thinking like that anymore, then there's something wrong. I mean, that's why we wanted to host.
Right.
We wanted to. I mean, this is our window. He's very good with the young players too. Even in Europe, he was producing the younger academy players and getting them up through. Most of them were English, so to go play for England, and that's what he said. He wanted to be known for was, regardless of where I'm from, I'm going to get these players ready to play at the international level. Good. It was a great signing.
Good.
Another. I know you're a big high school football guy, and I mentioned you this while we were walking in. I just happened to catch this, locally. Like you don't see a lot of 5-star rated products coming out of New England, let alone quarterbacks. But this kid, I noticed. I happened to run across this video of a kid who's who's he's going to be a freshman now at St. John's Prep, but he's from Lawrence, but he already has like 5 Division I scholarship offers. He's a 6'4" kid. His name's Chris Vargas.
6'4" freshman.
6'4" freshman.
6'7".
And he looks like a man. And like I said, I always compare him to my incoming freshman, and I go, I don't know.
I guess you're not going to be a quarterback.
Yeah,
son.
so keep an eye on for local football. St. John's Prep has it, and I would assume that he's going to come in and start if he's a five-star player. I mean, he has offers from BC, Penn State, URI, UMass, and I want to say there's another one, Clemson or something like that.
And that might just grow as he gets.
Yeah,
older
I mean, this is
football.
as an 8th grader.
Right, exactly.
So interesting to see that. And
Well, that's speaking of high school football, we are about 4 weeks away from WOON's high school football coverage as well. So we'll be hopefully talking to some coaches leading up to the season, previewing the high school football season. We are just about out of time here, Pat. Great to have us back in studio. And we'll go next week. We're going to want to hear from you. 766-1240. We're hoping to see some Bruins Jeremy Swayman news. Maybe we'd like to see him sign a contract. Right now, the Bruins are without a goalie. I mean, but we can get more into Jeremy Swayman talk. Obviously, Red Sox and Patriots will continue to be in the news as well as we go forward. So, on behalf of Pat Holland, I'm Kevin Callahan. Thank you so much for tuning in to Kevin's Sports Show on 99.5 FM, 1240 AM, and OneSocketRadio.com. We truly hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend and have a great day.
Broadcasting live and local daily from the Navigant Credit Union broadcast studio at the corner of Park